I'm standing at the world's largest representation of what could be the most powerful productivity tool ever made. We all know Notion. Notion, everyone's favorite app, or at least was everyone's favorite app. The unquestioned king of the all-in-one note-taking, writing, wiki, and database apps. One of maybe 2 or 3 apps that helped spark on the digital second brain revolution that we've seen all over the internet in the last 5 or so years. And perhaps the one most often credited for it. Love it or hate it, your app was probably inspired by it, even if it came out before it. Old apps like Apple Notes and the dreaded Microsoft Suites, and even depending on what your use case is, what could be considered its predecessor, Evernote, were all forced to react when Notion changed the marketplace when it rose to the spotlight of popularity. But the truth is, the road to success was not paved in gold. There were many trials and errors in Notion's story. At one point during the beginning of its development, Notion was running out of time, money, and resources. Even some of its co-founders gave up on it. Investors and its biggest believers almost called it quits. So in a last-ditch effort, they decided to release it in a state that the 2 co-founders that were left thought was too early. But to their surprise, people slowly, then quickly started to adopt it. Its modular and Lego-like system just had too many upsides for people that want to customize and bring powerful tools to their own productivity system. It just was too much to resist, even with small flaws. As it turns out, the Notion team were actually just perfectionists, and what wasn't ready for them was actually still better than 99% of the tools that were out there at the time. Players that came before, like Evernote, OneNote, and even Google Docs, knew they were in trouble, or in some trouble, pretty quickly. Maybe just a little bit for Google and Microsoft, but They like to win on every product, you know. And over the next few years, they would continue to improve the app, fixing bugs and flaws and adding even more tools to the system. And it would slowly become one of the most powerful productivity apps ever made. For Notion to end up a success, or even to exist at all, many factors had to line up. Yes, it was somewhat of a new idea, but it wasn't like they were the first to have an interactive Lego-like experience in mind when developing their app. The only way an app like Notion could ever exist and be successful is if the web reached close to real-time performance on the client side, meaning the internet needed to be getting real fast. And by 2010, it was happening. The internet had more people than ever, it was still growing, and it was getting faster. More people on broadband, and even fiber was making its way across the world.
2013, web technology was rapidly evolving. Like, there was this new idea called web components that Google was proposing. JavaScript just suddenly got relatively fast. Chrome had a JavaScript compiler. There's these optimizing compilers coming into the browser. You know, the HTML5 was really taking off. So the web really looked like this promising future platform where you might be able to get native performance.
So like most technologies humans create, in my mind at least, it was almost like a matter of time before there would start to be more and more apps with these sorts of features. Apps where multiple people could work on the same document or the same project and change things in close to real time. And when talking about developers and programmers making apps that utilize the technologies they were given, basically faster internet with lower latency being connected to better servers. One breakthrough making another breakthrough possible, leading to more breakthroughs. Well, that's kind of the story of us as humans. So with the expansion of technology and the ever-growing speed of the internet, there were many groups of programmers excited about these new technologies. And when it comes to Notion, and within Silicon Valley, there happened to be 2 groups that were working on very similar ideas. In what we'll call the first group, there was Jessica Lamb and Chris Prucha. To make a very long story short, they were both engineers who once worked at Apple. Chris worked at Apple for about 2 years when he got that old be your own boss bug. The way he was thinking about it is that he had 2 paths that were possible. Either remain at Apple and work his very nice job that he was lucky to have at such a young age, or risk something, well, he had little to risk.
One of the reasons I came out to Silicon Valley is I wanted to work in big tech. I wanted to have that structure. But I always had the ambition to start a company.
Plus he had the influence from his old friend Jessica, who had left the company a bit earlier to be part of the startup of 23andMe, where she briefly worked. So Chris quit, called up his old friend, and talked her into quitting 23andMe and joining his startup instead.
She really loved building iPhone applications, working on iPhone. My background was really as a web programmer. We worked at Apple. We worked on some really interesting web technologies. And we decided just to double down and work on web technologies.
Web apps. They knew kind of in the ballpark of what they wanted, but their ideas needed to be grown into something real. The ability to make web apps is awesome, and having your note-taking app be a web app so it's available on whatever operating system you happen to be using is extremely convenient and hard to get away from, at least for me, once you get used to it. However, I don't necessarily like that everything nowadays is pretty much a web app, everything having to be connected to the server, and I think it's one of the main flaws of Notion. It's one of its biggest setbacks, but it's also one of its biggest strengths. But they did have a concept and an idea of what could be useful. Speeding through the story, they eventually developed a demo. They called it Sugarbox. And from my understanding, it was sort of like a Chrome extension or some sort of add-on that in a way would forcefully turn any website into a collaborative canvas. Well, eventually, through emails and word of mouth and similar friends within Silicon Valley, the idea spread, and Group 2 would eventually hear about it. Group 2, headed by Ivan Zhao, the Steve Jobs of the group, born in China.
Beijing is a big city.
He moved to Canada. He got super good grades. He was into design and art.
I was doing a lot of art in college, science and art. So the art part, you hang out with art people, fashion and style, you're part of it. During college, student budget, buying designer clothes on eBay, right?
And then he moved to Silicon Valley with his dream of building a startup. When Ivan first moved to San Francisco to get involved in the tech industry, he worked for a company called Linking, which focused on digital publishing. However, it didn't last long. He had that entrepreneurial itch after all. Teaming up with Toby Schatzman, became friends with Ivan around 2012 or 13 in the creative tech scene of San Francisco. Not the typical Silicon Valley engineer. Instead, he came from an academic and research background focusing on interactive computing and programming. And finally, there's Simmons Last, who is one of the two main co-founders that are left today. There's good reasons for that. Simmons joined the group when Ivan found him through social profiles. He was impressed by the work and asked him to join the team. Their team also had a working prototype, and the concept for it was called Concept. I would say Ivan Zhao and Group 2 as a whole had more of a straightforward, like what they wanted to build. They didn't necessarily know who they were building it for, but they knew the concepts behind it. They had a vision and they were following it. Now with what they probably assumed was the most ultimate Notion team ever assembled, they gathered up some investors, they went into Ivan's savings, they got the money, and they got to work. They got on the grind to build, I guess, point zero of what would eventually become Notion. Now they had the right dream, the right founder, and even a few investors, and the original Notion looked a lot like Notion does today. But even according to the founders themselves, it was a bit of a buggy mess and it was nowhere near ready. But they were running out of time, money, and patience from the investors and other founders.
We tried many different versions. The first version to take, okay, everybody can make and create their software. So let's just build a developer tool that's so easy that more people can do that. We tried that like a couple years and learned that actually most people just don't care.
By 2015, Notion was in some serious trouble. The company had burned through most of its initial funding. The product was unstable, buggy, and users were not adopting it. Faced with dwindling resources and mounting pressure from investors, being the leader of Notion, Ivan had a serious choice to make. Either basically give up on the project and give whatever remaining resources back to the investors, or do something drastic. When the two groups had combined, Group 1 went under Group 2, so Ivan laid them off.
We know what the product should look like. It should be a productivity software with the Lego power hiding inside of it. We build on the wrong technical foundation. And if we continue to build on the wrong ones, we're going to run out of money. Company won't exist. We decided to lay off everybody. At that time, Notion was 5 people. We lay off everybody back to me and Simon, 2 people. Morale obviously was really low. You have to say goodbye to your teammates.
But don't feel too bad for them because they both went on to have amazingly good careers. Ivan's plan now was to move the team to Japan, where they could do things much cheaper and be more locked in, away from Silicon Valley and all the distractions. He asked Toby to come with him, and Toby basically said no. But Simmons was all in. So they moved to Kyoto and moved to a small apartment, committing to pretty much do the Silicon Valley thing and lock themselves in and go programming nuts until they had a viable product. This period internally would later be referred to as the Great Noodle Lock-In, presumably because they lived off of super cheap food like Top Ramen and Cup Ramen. This complete rebuild and dynamic change of what they were trying to build could be seen as the start of modern day Notion as we know it today. This time period, 2 partners in Japan coding like crazy, also traveling all over the world coding every single day, is the reason that Ivan and Simmons pop up as the 2 co-founders of Notion when you search it today.
The toughest part was right before we decided to start over and Ivan went to Kyoto. That was really tough because there was sort of a moment where we're like, oh man, what are we even doing?
They rebuilt Notion from the ground up to get rid of that proprietary code, to bring in their own proprietary code. Without the concepts and work from the team that was working before, Notion couldn't exist. But the foundations of the Notion that we use today was built in this time period. In August of 2016, after months and months of grinding, Ivan and Simon merged from their code den with a new version of Notion, and finally Notion was launched. It didn't have databases yet, but the foundation was there, an app that could be built upon by the engineers of the company, while still having that original vision of Lego pieces in the digital world for those users that want to build their own systems, while also being straightforward enough for the majority of people that just wanted a tool that worked. Of course, there was some hesitation. I think that they had wished that databases, along with some other features, were ready, but despite that they thought that they could make it better before release, it was more than time for release. But Notion had no marketing team, no big commercial budget, just word of mouth and a ready-to-use software.
But even the year after that, we went back to Japan, Notion was still largely 2 of us. Me and Samuel can do a lot, so we can build a lot of product, a lot of marketing.
Ivan's background in design had paid off, and rebuilding the program from the ground up had too paid off. And as people slowly found it and adopted it and told other people to do the same, Notion began to grow. Designers, developers, and indie filmmakers would discover Notion, and as they found its usefulness, began sharing it on Reddit and Twitter. They posted screenshots of their customized setups. Some would start to do tutorials. People love the minimalistic look that could be as simple or as complicated as any user desired. By 2017, Notion was gaining momentum. The company was still small, but the user base was steadily growing. Ivan and Simmons moved back to San Francisco and the Silicon Valley to begin hiring a small team again. The next year, in 2018, Notion would finally get some more funding. This was the first real cash injection since the dark days of 2015, but the real expansion came in 2019 and 2020. Notion would finally release databases. Students and professionals alike started discovering its powerful workflows, perhaps an alternative to some of the bigger guys, a way to connect ideas and notes and projects all in one place. Remote teams started using it as a knowledge hub and a training wiki and wikis in general. So they're slowly growing in popularity anyways, starting to become a real competition for other apps that were more traditional. And then they release databases, and that makes them explode even more as people figure out how powerful the way they're implementing it is. And that happens to be 2020, and we all know what happens then, and everybody's looking for remote work, and they have a free implementation because they're in growth mode, and they have this plan that if people start with it free as they grow with it, as they grow their businesses, Notion will explode because people will take Notion with them as entrepreneurs and whatnot. They were the right people at the right place at the right time with the right thing. From here, you know how the story goes. They grow and grow and grow, and a lot of their strategic planning worked. People got obsessed with Notion, me being one of them. Now, of course, like many productivity nuts and writers and organizers and digital lifers, second brainers, I love Notion, and it is the app that basically got my digital life as I know it today started. However, there is definitely something to be said about Notion's priorities and their way of monetization, because it's grown to the place that it is off the backs of people like me.
YouTube or other social media, initially we needed to seed a few people to talk about us, but The more creators talked about us, the more other creators recognized the product. And now so many creators use Notion as their operating system. Like they use it to sort of generate a lot of their work.
Small teams, singular people, just people that want to have an online collection organization of thoughts and things they've found that affects their life in some important way that they've decided. But it seems like their priorities and their product market fit has shifted towards big business and large teams and people with a bunch of money. And when it comes to like their AI features, I mean, it was okay at the beginning, $8 add-on, take it or leave it, but now it's $27 per person per workspace, and it's definitely orientated for the business.
Okay, well, we are now starting to use it in large companies. Large companies have specific needs. You probably need a little bit of account management so that you can make sure that they're getting the full value out of it. That's how we started to build the early version of Sales.
The fact of the matter is that Notion's time as my digital second brain home is limited. I keep going back to it from trying other products, and I've used Obsidian sort of as a vault for more permanent access to my notes as I've been using Notion, hearing horror stories about people losing data, and just knowing that it's actually on my device, on my drives, I own my data. I've personally never lost data, but it is the principle that matter. But that's not why I'm probably going to leave Notion. It seems to me that in recent times, their priorities have shifted from people like me to now it seems they're orientated mainly towards big business. I think if they were smart, they would find a way to make both sides happy, because of course big business is where the money's out, but the way they got their big business was their strategy of having people like me or college students in their younger years, and then eventually they grow into those businesses or become so cool that the business is adopted or whatever. But when you get to those bigger business type softwares, there is an app for that, right? Whatever that is, that does it a lot better than Notion, because Notion is sort of a Swiss Army knife that's great for people like me at its base, but for a business, there's probably better solutions. I'm more than happy to pay a reasonable amount for a decent app that does what I want, and I even, it's controversial, and again, I keep my notes on my computer, but I like them accessible by the cloud. I like the way Notion does things, but I don't like their priorities like right now. I think abandoning people like me over time is going to kind of eat away at their user base, and eventually they will be the next Evernote. Now, Evernote still exists, but it's far, far smaller than it used to be. And do let me know if you'd be interested in a video about Evernote. Go ahead and subscribe. And if you do find value from my work, from these videos, please like and subscribe. I'm going against giants here. There are lots of high quality videos on YouTube, and some of these creators can post once, twice, 3 times a week because they have big teams. And no shade at any of these creators. In fact, I aspire to be more high quality like some of them, and besides a few of them, most of them have big teams. And then there's the content farms and all the people that are just out to grab money. But we all got to get paid, and I don't get paid for these videos. Like, I've gotten paid for editing other people's videos, but this is more of a pipe dream. And if you want to support my work, like, it's free. You can always undo it. And if you really want to support my work, you can buy me a coffee. But literally, I think one person did that a long time ago. Anyways, I hate e-bagging or whatever, but go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and I'll either see you in the next video or I'll see you in the next live.